Hey, what's up, YouTube? Yu-Gi-Oh! Trader 1 giving you a quick deck profile of my top 16 YCS Dallas 2012 Dino-Rabbit deck. It is the 5th YCS in a row that I've topped and 2nd in a row in Dallas, so it's pretty important to me seeing as how Dallas was the first place that I topped. Unfortunately, yet again, I lost to Nazar Sahan in the top 32, and he ended up going on, of course, to win this event back-to-back, going undefeated, quite an accomplishment if I do say so myself. But anyway, the Dino-Rabbit deck is pretty basic, not many interesting choices. I know the Dino-Rabbit deck that I played at Atlanta had a few cool side deck choices, not quite as many in this one. This deck is pretty simple. There's a cool card in the extra deck, I guess, but I'll just go on and give you the deck list and any cards that I think need to be explained. Of course, we have the obligatory 3 Rescue Rabbits, which don't need any explanation, or the 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. I still decided to play 3 Jirak Waibas, even though the Mirror Match and Heroes were going to be popular. And this card isn't very good against either of those. However, I felt like Insectors was going to be the most popular deck in the event, and the 3 Jirak Waibas were going to put in a lot of work against Insectors, and also the fact that you play the Forbidden Lances and you play the Book of Moon, you can still normal summon this along with other dinosaurs to go into Lagizandol, because I felt like it was very important to have these as opposed to something like Thunder Kings or Spirit Reapers or anything along those lines. Then, of course, we're going to have the 6 obligatory normal monsters, the 3 Cabazals and 3 Sabersaurus. We then have 2 Effect Veilers as the only hand traps. I didn't decide to run Maxi, because I feel like Maxi isn't a very good card, to be honest with you. It's only good against windups. This card, on the other hand, is incredible against Insectors, which I felt like I just said was going to be one of the most popular decks, if not the most popular deck in the room. And crucial Effect Veilers can shut down that deck and turn it completely in your favor. Also, it's great with the Jirak Waiba, how you can just hammer a Tour Guide with an Effect Veiler turn 1 and then Waiba over it. It's also very good when you're looking at a Spirit Reaper. You can synchro with your Tour Guide or your Sangan to go into Armory Arm and equip it to the Spirit Reaper to kill it. So Effect Veiler has a lot of applications, and it does also better against rogue matchups like Heroes than Maxi is against those type of decks. You can at least hit a Stratos, which I feel is better than just cycling against a Miracle Fusion. Next we have 1 Gorz. I guess you consider this another hand trap, so perhaps 3 hand traps. Again, it's not very good against Insectors, but I felt like I can compensate for that by playing a deck that, as a whole, I felt was good against Insectors. I only had about 2 or 3 cards which I felt like were really awful against Insectors. This, of course, was one of them, but it was actually interesting. Round 10 against Jerry Williams, I played a Gorz in Game 1 against him running Insectors, and was able to use it essentially to win the game. It just played a very big part because I was able to hammer away a lot of damage early in the game before we got his Hornet and before we had to start dealing with that. So Gorz did actually contribute quite a considerable amount against Insectors at one point in the tournament. Then we have the 1 Sangan, of course, to go along with the copies of Tour Guide, and the other monster in the deck is a Neospatian Grand Mole. I felt like Grand Mole could just be a versatile card. It would be an out to large monsters. Everybody knows what this card does, but it's also very good against the main deck Snow Man-Eater, and everybody knows the Lagia lock. I felt like Neospatian Grand Mole was an okay choice in the main deck. I really didn't know which way I wanted to go after I put in the Guaibas and the hand traps and the Gorz, and I really thought the Grand Mole would be a decent choice. For these spells, of course, we have the 3 Mystical Space Typhoons. Gotta hammer away our Rescue Rabbit summons and our Tour Guides and whatnot. The 3 copies of Forbidden Lance. Our 2 copies of Smashing Ground. Smashing Ground was a decision that I made to put in the main deck simply because it's good against the stun matchups, it's good against the hero matchups. It's also good against the Dino-Rabbit matchup and the Insector matchup, but quite frankly, it's a versatile card that's good against virtually every matchup. So I decided to main deck 2 copies of Smashing Ground. The rest are all staples. The Monster Reborn, Pot of Avarice, Darkhold, Book of Moon, and Heavy Storm round out our spell lineup. In the trap lineup, we have, of course, the 2 copies of Solemn Warning. I still elected to run 2 copies of Torrential Tribute. I know some players decide that Mirror Force is better than Torrential Tribute in this type of deck, but I felt like against Insectors, I would much rather have the Torrential Tribute. I went and ran the 2 copies of Dimensional Prison, which, of course, is awful against Insectors, but this, along with Gorz, are the 3 cards that I thought were my bad cards against Insectors. I felt like every deck could have them, and I felt like I would rather play Dimensional Prison over Fiendish Chain because this card is more resilient against the hero matchup. This card is more resilient against the Dino-Rabbit matchup, and I don't like Fiendish Chain as a card because it's so vulnerable to the it's so vulnerable to the Forbidden Lance, even though this card is 2, but not as much because they reduce their own monster's attack and sometimes they collide into yours, and it's more resilient against Space Typhoon. Then we have the 1 copy of Solemn Judgment, and I ran 1 copy of Bottomless Trap Hole. It's not awful against Insectors because you can hit Centipede in the early stages of the game when you only have 1 back row. They're in that point, they're more inclined to go into Centipede than Dragonfly if they have both of them in their hand. And of course, it's great against the hero matchup, the stun matchup, the dino matchup. I felt like the one copy of Bottoms in the main deck wouldn't be a problem. I have 2 Gel and Duos. One of them is one of my deck boxes because I borrowed one of my friend's Secret Rare, so I had 2 matching Gel and Duos. So pretend this is 2 Gel and Duos because that's what I played. I played 2 Gel and Duos. 2 copies of Maxi. 2 copies of Snowman Eater. 2 copies of Thunder King Ryo. 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice. A Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. 3 copies of Macro. I borrowed one of my friend's Super Rare ones. I have a third Super Rare one, but it's so water damage I would never use it in an event. 3 Macrocosmos. And a Dust Tornado. So this is a Macro and this is a Gel and Duo, in case anyone has that question. Nothing really unique in my side deck worth explaining. A lot of Insector hate, some Snowman Eater hate with the Chalices, some Dino-Rabbit hate in the Snowman Eaters and Gel and Duos themselves. Thunder King says it's good against heroes. Here is the extra deck. 3 copies of Lagia. I played 2 Dolkas, however, I only have 1 Dolka on me because I'm lending out another Dolka to someone. And that individual didn't go to YCS Dallas, so when I went to Dallas, I had to borrow my friend Paul's extra Dolka, so I did run 2 Dolkas, so this is a Dolka. 2 Leviair, the Sea Dragons, a Wind-Up Zen Mains, a Wind-Up Zen Meister, a Utopia Ray, a Leviathan, an Acid Golem, an Armory Arm, and the 15th card was a Submersible Carrier Arrow Shark. This is an exceed of 2 level 3 monsters, so it's of course a rank 3, and you can detach 1 material to inflict 100 points of damage to your opponent for each of your banished monsters. This card was a single extra deckable out to my opponent's Gel and Duos. I never had the opportunity to kill a Gel and Duo with this card, but I really wish it happened. That would have made my day if I could have killed a Gel and Duo with this card. So I felt like this was better than Giga Brilliant, because quite frankly I don't play Blackluster Soldier, so there's really no point in having it, other than maybe some obscure situation where I was able to OTK. But that never happened, never needed it. This card, I didn't need it, I never summoned it, but I wanted to, and it was cool, and I'd much rather have outs to Gel and Duo than have a Giga Brilliant, which wouldn't do anything to Gel and Duo. So yeah, that's my deck. I'll have an article on Alter Reality Games by the end of the week, giving a tournament report, thanking people. I'm not going to try and thank people in this video, because there's just so many people to thank from Dallas. So many people gave me rides and places to stay. It was just fantastic. But in the article that I'll write for alterrealitygames.com, I'll be giving all my shout-outs, everything I need to, explanations on the rounds, everything that happened during the tournament. And I should be in Chicago in a few weeks. Hopefully I will be. I'm not 100% sure. I'm kind of on the fence, but maybe I'll be there, maybe I'll not. So check out that article on Alter Reality Games, and it's posted, and all of the articles that I've posted and everybody else on Alter Reality Games has posted. Thank you for watching.